Hey everybody, it's Michael with CarolinaOffGrid.com, and I'm here with my friend David.
David Olson at Power,
Rock and roll.
pretty much for now.
You're very powerful.
But it'll change.
And today we're talking about solar, specifically off-grid applications and some new things happening in the news. We're going to share this to all our platforms, hopefully to Brighton, to Rumble, to Twitter, to Facebook, to YouTube. So check us out on those platforms. And then if you want to learn more, go to CarolinaOffGrid.com. That's got all of my phone, email, all the ways you can get at me or send me a direct message. I don't check my DMs in places like Instagram and all those. So please, just the easiest way is just Michael at CarolinaOffGrid.com, or just use the form on the website. Back in the day when we first got into solar, it was about 10 years ago, we could do a 25% REAP grant for rural business owners that had fewer than 500 employees that were getting most of their income from a farm or agriculture. Also helps small businesses in rural areas. So that could be any kind of business. The Inflation Reduction Act that was passed recently, thanks to our beloved, dear, fearless leader, Joe Biden.
He's the best.
He's greatest. Don't come after me, alphabet boys. It's basically
He's just trying to get canceled.
Done bid canceled. We couldn't even go live on Facebook here. That's how canceled I am.
He couldn't, I could.
Instagram won't let me go live either.
Oh,
I forgot to mention that.
It's all meta.
It's
so.
all. Wow. But we're going to let that slide this time. We're going to let it slide because for the greater good, we're telling you about solar. You need to be self-sufficient.
Truth Social.
What's that?
Truth Social.
I don't have Truth Social. I kind of don't want to be in an echo chamber. I've really enjoyed Twitter since it got crazy.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's the free-for-all. That's the street fight.
Okay. Yeah.
A lot of people don't dig that.
That's how you go viral nowadays.
They just want to go on a Mastodon and be like, I can't believe all those stupid conservatives. Yeah, and Muffy, I agree with you completely. That's such a good point you made. Yes, it is. This is a safe space. Safe like my heart. It's ridiculous. So what are we doing? We're having fun here. I love you if you're conservative or if you're liberal. And that's what it's about. It's about freedom, freedom of choice, freedom to do what you want and say what you want. And I'll fight for your freedom. And I hope you'll respect mine as a bare minimum. And I would,
solar really doesn't get into any of this.
Doesn't?
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't?
No.
Well, hold on. I'm going to play devil's advocate here.
Okay.
I think that having electricity is a good thing. I think that most people's basic understanding of life in America is very different than our ancestors 100 or 200 years ago.
Sure.
I'll take it a step further. Most people, our age, have never lived without air conditioning. Maybe not for more than a day or a week at a time. Now, there's always exceptions to the rule, but the rule is that older people would be really hurting if they didn't have air conditioning in the summer. In San Antonio, 700 people died 2 years ago in that area, the region of Texas. Huge winter storm, 2021.
I remember that.
It's reasonable for me to say if they had solar with battery backup, not all of them would have died. And that's not me trying to profit off of doom and gloom. This is my career. I've been doing this for a long time, and we've been saying the same thing for a long time. But here's what's different. We've got things like this REAP grant that now have increased from 25 to 40%. You've still got the federal ITC. Don't worry about these acronyms. We'll help you with the process. There's a huge federal tax credit for solar. There's REAP grants for business owners and homeowners. This is your tax money. This is money you're writing that check. It's not if, it's when. So let us help you go solar. It's cheaper than what you're doing. It's a better investment. This is not a save the planet business. Most of my customers couldn't care less about that. They're doing it for the financial rewards. And if I could not have convinced them of the financial rewards and proven it, they would have never done it. Looking back now, over the past 10 years, our research shows that 90% of customers who go solar are satisfied with it. That's huge. I mean, think about all the scams that are out there and all the shysters and unscrupulous businesses. Yet still, solar is such a strong investment that 90% of people are glad they did. And
you own your system too.
Well, you own it. And there's really only about 3 things that can go bad with solar. Based on my experience, either one, you didn't get a good install, like it was crap, or it was a cheap product and they just didn't do a good job, right? Okay. The other 2 is you got screwed over on the terms. You way overpaid, or you had really bad financing terms, right? So you got screwed over on the cost. They either just installed horrible equipment, did a poor job. The third is tree shade, believe it or not. I've seen systems installed directly under a tree. And goes back to the unscrupulous dirt baggery. And some people, they don't want to cut those trees down. So yeah, you need sunlight for solar. By the way, the things that we have to say out loud are terrifying, but solar is good. It's a good investment. It's not just about saving the planet. You need to be self-sufficient. Here's why. I think we are absolutely headed toward a civil war. I think we're headed toward really bad stuff. And I'm not a doom and gloom guy. I'm a positive optimist. In fact, I think that if we do have a civil war, I think the end result will be positive. I think you're going to see the crazies kill each other off, and the survivors will be like, maybe we should just get along. Remember in the 90s when we were talking about just, live and let live? That was a good idea.
We're slowly separating from our core ideals.
Yeah.
So
it's funny.
That's
I mean, and I can go on and on about that, but this is it. If you believe that our government's doing great, that the economy is doing great, that the utility company cares about your best interest, go ahead and hit that unsubscribe button and kick rocks. We are not here for you, and we don't value your
don't
business.
report us. Don't
Yep.
We're gonna be back somewhere else.
But for everybody else, for the people who aren't totally brain dead right now, you realize things are not as good as they could be, not as good as they should be. Your politicians, I read an article once that said most people highly mistrust government, but really like their local congressman. They're like, Congress is corrupt. My congressman, he's all right. And it's this cognitive dissonance. If we took a poll and said, how many people think the society is being systematically dumbed down? Everybody, yeah, that's right. They're programming you and brainwashing you. Next question, who thinks that they're being brainwashed?
Nobody.
Nobody raises their hands, crickets. So if you don't understand that people are being systematically dumbed down, then perhaps you have been systematically dumbed down. And we're not saying this to be mean-spirited. I hope you can see the good nature. We're trying to have fun with this. But life is either a comedy or a tragedy. You got to have fun at this point because you got to get prepared. That's it. What do you call a prepper with no electricity? Unprepared. Even the Amish are starting to adopt solar. So things are changing. You want electricity. You want to have it. Battery backup's cheaper than ever. The Inflation Reduction Act is helping to pay for it. So you're like, oh man, the government's spending way too much money. It's a done deal. They're taking their pound of flesh. There's nothing you can do about it except go get your piece. So you have solar on your home, battery backup for hurricanes, for tornadoes, for natural disasters. Remember, we were just talking earlier today about storm damage. So I had a friend, he lived on the beach. I think one door or window blew open during a hurricane. Thank God his house was fine, but he got water damage. But all the power was knocked out for weeks and weeks.
Sure.
And that little bit of water damage turned into black mold. He had to rip out the drywall. All the furniture was gone. All the carpet was gone. His clothes were gone. The electronics were gone. Could you imagine how much that would cost on a beach house?
Well, and then you got to fight insurance over time.
Yeah.
I mean, that takes months, right?
Or if he'd had our battery backup system that's waterproof, submersible, a solar array that's rated up to 140 mile-an-hour wind loads that are stronger than your roof, his system would have still been there. The battery backup would have kept at least fans blowing, bare minimum HVAC going, and he could have had minimal damage and repairs to his house and dried his house out. Just the fact of drying his house out.
Yeah.
So solar is in every way better. Now, some people will say, oh, I don't need that because I've got a generator, a standby generator.
Well, that could have been flooded as well.
Yeah, and then it's
Any water in that system just
done.
locks up the generator. So.
Right, and what a lot of people don't realize is these major brands, I'm not going to say Generac by name because that would somehow be wrong,
You
but
just said it.
what? They're not as good. They're not as good as they used to be. Have you ever been to Walmart and seen KitchenAid appliances? That brand name used to actually mean something. Now it's just cheap junk. They slap a name on it, and you're supposed to remember the 1950s when it was quality. Singer sewing machines, they used to be good quality. Now they're junk. Well, Generac has followed that trend of getting cheaper products with almost all made in China components. And I'm just being real, like they're not as good as they used to be.
Pretty much everything you buy is Chinese.
Well, it's hard. You got to go.
Organization.
You got to go out of your way to find American-made stuff, and you got to go out of your way to find good quality stuff that's built to last, that doesn't have built-in obsolescence. And to your point, it is. A lot of our equipment's made in America, assembled in America, and it's got built-in redundancies. There's no moving parts.
Yeah, solid state.
Technology is supposed to get better, but yet we're seeing, I think, kind of an end of internal combustion engines. They're not really making big gains. They're making really little gains, and they're hard fought. So it's, again, technology is supposed to get better. It's not supposed to get worse. It's so I'm seeing one disturbing trend since we're talking about battery backups that people are saying, oh, batteries are bad. They're bad for the environment. Oh, lithium ion. Could you imagine how bad that is when they're mining it from the earth? Guys, this is it's a silly argument. It's not factually correct. Yes, mining in general is pretty rough, but everything you own has been mined. The metals on your spark plugs are mined. The oil and gas in your car is mined. Where do you think radiator fluid comes from? Radiators, belts, hoses, fans, fuses, wires, all that.
All the things that we've come to enjoy that sustain our society are either mined or drilled out of the ground. So
Oh, and these knuckleheads are saying they hate EV cars. They're still buying a new F-150 every 2 or 3 years. That's just consumption for the sake of consumption. Yeah, you get a new smartphone every year. So let's just not be disingenuous. Let's at least attempt to be honest with the argument. Batteries are not that big of a deal. Everything we have is being mined. And in fact, nobody threw a hissy fit when this microphone was made of mined precious materials, including some silver, some copper.
Okay.
We talk about Bud Light. We talk about Diet Coke, or pick your poison, whatever. You be honest with me. Is it bottled water? Name something that you consume every day that comes in a disposable container. Those cans of Campbell's tomato soup, your beer, your soft drinks, and again, on and on and on. Those things that you're consuming every day, you've never once in your life said, gee, what's the environmental impact of my Fresca? No, it never happened. You never did it. And I'm calling you out on this because it's pathetic. Be either be a hippie or don't be a hippie, but you don't get to play one and play the other when it suits you.
Yeah.
You don't have to love Chevy to prove that you hate Ford. And same thing, you don't have to hate electric cars because you love NASCAR. I love NASCAR. I went to NASCAR last week, and I hope they always keep doing what they do.
Sure, yeah.
It was awesome, the roar of the engines and stuff. It was stinky, the fumes and the your headphone. We had to wear headphones, but it was just something beautiful about that. I wouldn't want to go see NASCAR with electric cars. Zip, 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 zip around the track.
Wouldn't make a noise.
It wouldn't
Tire screech.
It would be like one of those little games you'd get on Christmas, with the little cars that's spinning around the track.
I thought you were gonna do the wind up toy.
Or a wind-up toy, yeah. But look, EVs are good. They are the future. I hate to break it to you. Fossil fuels are getting less and less relevant. They're not going to go away.
If not having a hybrid too.
Well, there's a great movie called Who Killed the Electric Car? And I love that movie because it talked about how, did you know 100 years ago, there were more electric cars on the road than petroleum? Yeah, you got to count trolleys and things like that. Those were all electric.
Steam was pretty big then.
Well, steam was really bad though with all the fumes. But let's just take electric, zero emissions. There were trolleys everywhere. Detroit Motors, those conglomerates, they fought successfully and illegally to get rid of all the clean green trolleys, both above ground and underground, to get their inefficient diesel spewing buses. What they did was wrong. They later got found guilty of committing crimes to push that agenda, but the damage was already done. The trolleys were out of business. And this is all well documented. None of these are opinions that we're sharing as much as facts. The fact is, most people don't drive much. Most people drive 20 miles or less a day. Almost everybody drives less than 40 miles a day. However, you pick any EV, there's lots of choices now. Most of them have a 200-300 mile range. And then wait, people are going to say, but what about my road trips, bro?
I got to go to the mountains, man.
Got to go to my road trips. So remember, an exception to the rule does not disprove a rule. So you telling me the one thing it doesn't tow a huge heavy load a long distance. Okay, well, guess what? The average American family has 2 or 3 cars anyway, which is the law of averages, guys. EV cars are going to replace the grocery go-getter. They're going to replace the little Hondas and Toyotas. Those folks wish they had an EV anyway. And you say, oh, they're not affordable. You expect me to buy a $65,000 Tesla? But that problem is prevalent in the entire industry. How are you going to find an F-150 for a cheap price? They're putting all these bloated features on all of cars.
There's no such thing as a farm truck anymore.
That's what I'm saying. Or a simple, like in the 90s, I loved the simple Honda Civic, just basic.
Yeah, those are now 50 grand.
Well, it's just crazy the price you pay for a simple car.
Yeah.
And it's because there's not much of profit motive. The profits in the extras, the bells and whistles, the fully loaded Mercedes.
Yeah.
So don't shoot the messenger. The issue is the entire industry. Yes, automotive industry is bloated. We do need more affordable EVs. It's coming down the pike. They're figuring it out. And I think the knee-jerk reaction was, when the crazy liberals were saying, oh, you have to make it mandatory. We mandate electric cars. Well, I'm not for that. I don't do the whole totalitarian, authoritarian thing. That was wrong. It's still wrong.
The
It'll
yin
always.
and the yang.
What's that?
It's a yin and a yang. There's good and bad neither.
Okay, Big Lebowski.
Sorry.
Wow, you went full on hippie on me there.
A little bit.
No, please do tell. So, I hope you see what we're getting at. Don't let the TV tell you what to think. Don't let social media tell you what to think.
Fake news.
Fake news, yeah, the real talk. Make up your opinions, form them for yourselves. Be educated. And if you think Fox News is going to get you fully educated, you're just as dumb as the guy who thinks CNN and HuffPost made him fully educated. And that's it. You gotta. It's just the time we're living in. You gotta search a little harder. You're gonna have to do digging to find independent news sources. But you guys already know that. We love you. We care about you. If you want to get solar, let's talk. You don't have any time to waste. Things are changing rapidly. Utility rates are going up like never before. Inflation is breaking all-time records. The government is lying to you all the time about inflation and the truth of how that's affecting us. So inflation, it's out of control. Utility rate hikes, worse than ever. Solar is an investment. Put solar on your home. You're going to pay it off and you're going to have free electricity probably for the rest of your natural life. Battery backup starts at a pretty decent price and you have the power to change certain things. The government's corrupt. You can't change that. Bunch of terrible stuff happening in Ukraine and beyond. You can't change that. What do you have control over?
Yourself and your family.
Yeah. Focus on that.
Yeah.
Take care of this. If you've got a good credit score, if you've got a good source of income, if you've got plenty of sunlight on your roof, you could probably do this. And this is really the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. All jokes aside, the people who are doing this, they're doing it. Millions of Americans are switching to solar right now, irrespective of political affiliations, because it's just a better investment.
100%.
That's all I have for you. Hope you're doing well. CarolinaOffGrid.com. If you need any information for a no pressure consultation, we're in over 25 states. And just go to our website and see if you're in an eligible zone. Thanks so much, guys.